As a part of our exploration of philosophy and literature, we embark to Metropolis, the futuristic city with a utopia above a dystopia. This 1920s sci-fi film was directed by Fritz Lang, with the screenplay written by Lang and his second wife, Thea von Harbou. It is arguably one of the first science fiction movies depicting a dystopia, and one of the most influential films in sci-fi history. But why was it such an important film, and how does it continue to influence cinema to this day? To start answering these questions, it's important to first examine the major themes of Metropolis. We begin with the first theme of the movie, which is fear of the future. It is a major theme of the movie, which can be found in many aspects of the film. Fear of the future is at the heart of a dystopia. It is a projection of our fears of society in the present. Dystopias essentially serve as a social commentary, questioning, if things continue this way, then what will happen? This reflects an even broader recurring theme in human history, and that is conflict. Watching this movie almost 100 years after its initial release, there was a lot in the movie that I could relate to. Now, let's step back for a second to appreciate the context of this film. It was made in 1927, during the Roaring Twenties, almost a decade after the First World War. Industrialization is almost ubiquitous across Europe and North America, and it is spreading across the world. Labor conditions for the working class are not good, and Germany was left in an especially bad state after World War I, facing poor economic conditions due to hyperinflation. There was growing concern about the future and a lot of mistrust in the government. During this time period, I can imagine someone asking questions like, if labor conditions in factories do not improve while demand continues to increase, what will happen? In today's world, we have no shortages of questions to ask about the future. Questions like, if humans keep exploiting natural resources, what will happen? Or, if there's another pandemic, what will happen? This fear is a part of life, and we all can recognize this feeling innately. But what do we fear exactly? And how has this changed throughout history? We will explore this question in the remaining themes of the film. Starting off with science and technology, of course, since, after all, this is a science fiction film. And why is it that sci-fi and dystopias go together like peanut butter and jelly? What are we so afraid of about science? I think the simplest answer is humans in general fear change, and science is a catalyst for change. Take a second to think about how different life was 100 years ago. Coming from a first-generation immigrant family, I think of the life my grandparents had and how my life is so drastically different than theirs. Would they share the same sentiments about the lives of their grandparents? I don't think so. This pace of change is unprecedented in human history, and it continues to increase as new fields of science and technology progress. Why is change scary? Well, it can be scary to imagine the possibilities of new technologies, particularly when you do not trust the institutions that create and manage those technologies. The opening scene of the movie depicts this best. The bleak imagery of the working class citizens moving around the city in unison with their heads down is depressing. While those in the upper world bask in luxury, those fated to life in the depths live desolate lives. During the 19th and 20th century, industrialization was rampant. In many ways, workers of those factories were slaves to the machines which powered their livelihood. Can we relate to that in today's world? I certainly think we can. An even more jarring example of technology was the machine man created to reincarnate Hel, Joe Friederson's late wife. The character of the movie was especially disturbing, considering the growing interest in artificial intelligence and robotics. Even though we do not have those abilities yet, there is certainly effort in place to make such a being a reality. Seeing this type of imagery can lead one to question what the consequences of science and technology are, especially those developed from societies which are unjust. Does that simply fuel more injustice? What is the purpose of science and technology in human history? Is it out of pure curiosity? Or is it done in order to benefit man? Which men are to benefit from such powerful tools? And how do we ensure that they use these tools justly? Clearly, there is a close connection between science, technology, and power. Frieder's journey from the utopian metropolis to the devastating depths below shows disparity between the working class and ruling class. Is this an unjust society? Based on the visible difference in lifestyle from people from both classes, it's evident that some people are getting more resources of the city and thus more freedom and happiness than others. The ruling class unjustly benefit from the machines powered by the working class. We can see this divide in our world today, particularly due to industrialization transforming into capitalism, which has grown massively due to globalization. Today, the world's billionaires make up only 0.0000003% of the world's population, yet their wealth is more than 60% of the world's population. Evidently, there is a massive disparity in wealth worldwide today, and this is reflected clearly in Metropolis. So, what are the consequences of this disparity? The film shows that the inequality in power is fought back with a revolution from the workers of the depths. What consequences does our world face from the disparity that we see today? In comparison to the world of Metropolis, Thomas More's utopia certainly looks much better. In that fictional civilization, rules are set in place such that everyone gets enough of what they need. There is not much in terms of luxury, so it is easy to ensure that everyone equally shares whatever resources are collectively produced by the people of the city. Removing money and private ownership removes problems of inequality that we see in Metropolis. But is this a realistic vision for our world? That remains to be debated. Another common theme that has appeared in both Plato's Republic and More's Utopia is religion. This was also an important theme of Metropolis. It drives much of the plot by motivating workers to uprise against the ruling class. The workers believe in the coming of the mediator, who appears to be a messiah-like figure who will bridge the gap between the working class and ruling class. The film reveals Frater to be the mediator, who in the end makes this a reality. Even though religion brought justice for the working class, it was also a part of what enslaved them. These people were motivated by a dream to build the Tower of Babel. The workers believed that their efforts were for ultimate good, but they were hidden and deceived from the utopia that they built by the ruling class. The only thing to keep them working was religion and the belief in the coming of a mediator. So, what are the consequences of science and technology in religion? Can religion empower those who are enslaved? Or does it serve to manipulate people by those with power? In other words, what is the role of religion in justice? These are more questions that I leave to you. Thank you for listening.